Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, That's Not My Truck, Karen. After that, Server, Not Servant, We Don't Work for Free. And after that, My Parents Don't Believe I'm Allergic to Seafood. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen will be sent to Mars, so please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge shout out to Mallory, our newest official channel member. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Become a member today and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. That's not my truck, Karen. Short backstory. I just got off a 14-hour shift. I work for a utility company, and this took place about 5 a.m. in a smaller suburb of the Twin Cities in January. I stopped for gas at the local Stop and Rob and a few snacks for my upcoming shift at 2 p.m. Another 14-hour shift, lots of overtime. I pull into the station and the tanker truck is there for a delivery. I get out, fuel up my run-of-the-mill boring box on wheels, and started to go into the store. About 5 feet from the entrance, I hear a slight squealing of tires and watched a monstrosity of an SUV, Lincoln Navigator I think, roar around the tanker and parked about 1 foot behind it. I was already beat tired and didn't really think anything of it since people do drive a little nuts around here. I'm in the store looking at what kind of garbage I can eat for the day and maybe a couple energy drinks for later that night. This is when the fun begins. We've got me, we've got Crazy Lady, and we've got Sheriff's Deputy. Lady. Hey. Me. Turns head to look at the lady staring right at me. Lady. You need to move your truck. Me. Puzzled look on my face. Yes, I'm talking to you. You need to move your truck now. Me, pointing to the salt-crusted SUV at pump number 5. You mean that car? No, the tanker truck. It's blocking the tire pump. My tire light is on and I need to fill it up now. I'm in a big hurry. Funny thing is, those tire fillers have about a 20-foot retractable hose on them. Me, that's not my semi. I just watched you walk inside 30 seconds ago. Me, that's not my truck. Now I'm beginning to wonder why she thought I was the truck driver. We probably have the same yellow coats with silver reflective tape that's just as common as blaze orange during deer season. Me, that's not my truck. I don't work here, and get the heck away from me. At this point, one of the local sheriff's deputies walks in right before I say, get the heck away from me. I see them here quite a bit in the morning to get coffee. Deputy walks over and asks, is there a problem here? Lady, this guy needs to move his truck. It's blocking the tire pump. I'm in a big hurry, and one of my tires is low. Me, to the deputy. My car is over there on pump number 5, and I don't know why this lady thinks I'm the semi-driver. At this point, I'm wondering where the driver is. Either in the back office doing paperwork or destroying one of the toilets in the restroom. Deputy to the lady. Okay, show me what you're talking about. They both go outside and walk to the back of the tanker truck. Me. I pay for gas and snacks, and here comes the truck driver out of the restroom. It's probably going to need a power washing. As I'm walking out to my car, I see the deputy pointing to back of her car, and they were talking about something. I couldn't hear them. Deputy and lady walk back inside the store just as the truck driver was walking out. Yup, he was wearing a similar coat. I put the snacks in my car, and now curiosity has struck me. I walk over to Crazy Lady's SUV and saw that it has whiskey plates on them. Maybe it's her, maybe it's her husband's, I don't know. Then I saw it. I couldn't believe my eyes. The license plates showed October 2018. They were 14 months expired. I got a good laugh from that, and I hope Crazy Lady got a ticket for expired tabs. I went home and got some rest. Server, not servant. We don't work for free. So I work for a place that's a cafe during the day and a nightclub at night. It's an adventure, and I love every minute of it. Sundays are insane. Usually the Saturday night close is rough, but I've learned to expect that, and I won't speak badly about those that served until 3 a.m. and just were too tired to restock some napkins. I get it, dude. Sunday is also walk-in 10 to 16 top day. It never fails. We get large groups back to back. We had a 15-person table come in, and my coworker, Sam, name changed, had it put in his section, and it took up every table he was assigned. Sam is a great server. He's been in the industry for years and knows his stuff. He was attentive, constantly giving refills, making them laugh, etc. As things come to an end, people begin leaving, so Sam asked if the check was all on one. Everyone at his table just looked around at each other, and it was obvious that they had not planned out whether one person was footing the bill or if everyone was going separate. Half the table had left at this point, so one of the older gentlemen said, "I guess it's on one." Sam took him the bill, and after they cashed out, they quickly left. This table left him $7 on a $240 check. Sam was devastated. They had been there through the entire lunch rush, so he missed out on a lot of turnaround that made the rest of us some really good money. He told me that he was counting on today so he could make his rent, and now he wasn't sure what to do. He was going to ask to work a double after already working a double the day prior. Side note, I get that people should manage money accordingly, but I don't know his personal life, and some of us have to live day by day. I was there recently. I get it. Zero judgment. I felt so bad for him that I printed off another copy of the check and put $40 into a book with it and stacked it into some books by the register. I pretended that I had lost a signed receipt and was going through them next to him. I casually opened the one with his name in it and said, "Sam, you left money in here, you idiot," and handed it to him. I pretended to find mine and casually walked away. He came up to me and said that he was super confused because he had only had one book at the table, but now there was this one. I just looked at him and said, "Some things aren't worth investigating." I'm telling this story because I want everyone to know that there are good people in the world. We all will get that crappy table or Karens on a bad night, but I'm always looking out for my coworkers. I'm a strong believer in treat others the way you want to be treated, and I'm hoping my message will inspire others to offer to do a little extra side work or bring in some snacks to share during the rush. Little things go a long way in this rough business. We are servers, not servants. My parents don't believe I'm allergic to seafood. When I was 14, I kept getting rashes everywhere that felt like I was on fire. I went to the doctors without my parents because they didn't want to take me. After a few tests, he told me I had an allergy to seafood. When I got home, I told and showed the papers from the doctors, and my parents looked at it. Dad, this is fake. You eat fish all the time. Me, no it's not. See it on the papers? It's signed by our family doctor. Dad looks at it. No, it's fake. Rips it up and throws it on the ground. Clean this up, then go to your room. I'll take your computer out of your room for lying after my show finishes. After that, between 14 and 22, they would try to put fish in my meal, then say, "See, you aren't allergic to fish." I would show them the rashes, but they would say it's because I'm causing them to pop up. The final straw was when I was 4 months pregnant. I had made dinner, a dish that my sister picked out while shopping with my fiancé at the time, now husband, at the supermarket I worked at. They were picking me up. About 30 minutes after eating it, I felt sick and I threw up. I just thought it was the baby didn't like the food. I went to bed, woke up a few hours later, finding it hard to breathe. I thought it was asthma playing up, but then I touched my face and it was swollen. My partner took me to the hospital, and the doctor said it's a bad reaction to an allergy. When we got home, my partner checked the jar. He said it had traces of fish in it. I should have checked it before using it. My error. My partner. We are home now. It was an allergic reaction. Dad. To what? Partner. Fish. It had traces in the jar. Mom. No, it was just hay fever. Partner. No, it was fish. If it was worse, you would have lost your grandchild. Dad. Don't be dramatic. She's lying. I left the room, but I heard my parents and partner yelling at each other. Not long after that, we left. Moved 9 hours away, been 4 years, and they still tell me I was wrong. I need to divorce my husband because he's controlling? He's not. They are. Speaking of food allergies, are there any foods that you're allergic to? If so, please let me know. Karen, I'm not a cop. This was an incident well over a decade ago. At the time, I was the supervisor for a state park. It was a Monday morning, and I was getting ready to head into town to deposit the weekend's receipts when my assistant told me that our work truck, an old beat-up rust bucket of a pickup truck, was almost out of gas. I normally took my own car for the bank run, but took the truck instead so I could refuel it. After finishing the banking, I stopped at a convenience store to fill up the truck and to pick up some snacks, figuring to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now I was in uniform, but it was the sort that's rather standard to parks. Khaki shirt, dark pants, department badges, and I had a badge and a nameplate. I wasn't a police officer. Our uniforms did not look like any police uniform in the state, and my authority was strictly limited to the parks. Right after I entered the store, I heard an "Excuse me" from behind me. I turn around, and there she was, a Karen. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. She started on a rant about her neighbors feeding the bears, and one bear had destroyed her bird feeder. It wasn't my problem. I said, "I'm sorry to hear that. You should call the game warden." She replied, "No, you're a cop. You need to go over there and talk to them right now." I tried again to get through. "Ma'am, I'm a park supervisor, not a game warden. You need to contact the game warden. I can give you their number if you want." It didn't sink in. Karen insisted that I drive over there to talk to them, adding she wanted them ticketed and that she didn't understand why I wasn't doing my duty to take care of this. This from a woman who saw me get out of a battered pickup truck with a Parks Department logo, and my uniform patches and nameplate clearly say I work for the Parks Department. My patience was at an end. "Lady, one more time. I am not a police officer. I have no authority to talk to your neighbors, and I've told you who you need to call. Please let me finish my shopping and get back to my park." With that, I walked away from her, grabbed some snacks, paid for them, and left, all the while listening to her complaining to other customers about the lazy cops in this area who don't do their job. I just shook my head about it on the way back to the park. The next weekend, the game warden for the area stopped by to see how things were going and to check some people's fishing licenses. I told him about my run-in with Karen, and he said, "Oh, so you're the lazy cop she was complaining about." Yeah, she called and told me what happened. It turned out that her neighbors were people who rented that place for a week and were now gone. He had a talk with the rental owner about it. But Karen had a virtual bear buffet in her yard, multiple bird feeders, a couple of large bags of birdseed on her back porch, and a deer feeding station she'd set up because, as she told the warden, she liked to see the deer. Karen got tickets for bear baiting and illegal feeding of wildlife, and almost talked herself into a couple of others by ranting at the warden about those tickets. We had a pretty good laugh over that. Speaking of bears, what's your favorite animal of all time? Please let me know. Library does not equal daycare. I'm still at my local library as I'm writing this, and let me tell you, the ideas of libraries being a safe haven for peace and quiet has long gone out the window. Nowadays, parents leave their kids to run around and make noise like they're in a playground. You'd think they'd be there to actually do some reading, but nope. Usually the parents want to use the computers or talk on the phone while their kids play with the books, or use the computers to play games. Now, some parents are good at taking their kids out when they get too noisy, but what I witnessed a few minutes ago was a new low for these noisy, entitled parents. We've got the girl, the librarian, and the entitled mom. So I'm borrowing one of the local computers when I see poor girl, looking about 2 or 3, crying her eyes out with no parents to be found. Librarian, a nice lady at the front desk, approached her and asked, "Where's your mommy? Are you lost?" The girl nodded, and librarian took her hand. "Come on, let's go find her together." Librarian calmed her down as they walked, asking her what her name was or what her mom looked like. I awed a little in my head when I heard that. A few minutes later, I overhear what sounded like librarian and the entitled mom in question a few rooms down. I was mainly annoyed by how loud the place was, but then I couldn't help listening in. Apparently, entitled mom had left her daughter in the kids' bug section so that her son could use the computer lab, with only one computer available, to play games. Librarian told her that the entitled mom needed to watch both of her kids and that the librarians wouldn't be able to watch them, especially not someone her age. Here's what I could roughly make out. Entitled mom: "Oh, you can watch her. I can't leave my son here." Librarian: "I'm sorry, but we can't just let her be here by herself either. You can let her stay in the lab with you, or you can bring them both to this section." Entitled mom groans: "Fine, whatever." Entitled mom ended up scolding the girl for leaving that section, making the poor kid cry again. Then the son started crying because his sister was being too noisy. You and me both, kiddo. Before long, entitled mom was angrily walking out with her 2 crying kids in tow. At least this Karen had the sense to do that. The day I can finally use a computer at home will be one of grand celebration. When your niece turns out to be an entitled Karen. Once again, I'm sitting in my favorite booth that overlooks the entire restaurant when I see a familiar face walk in. It was my niece, and she had some friends with her. It must have been one of her girls' night out. We were rather crowded, and there was a bit of a wait. I went back to eating and doing the end-of-month paperwork and heard my niece say rather loudly, "You will seat me now. Do you know who my uncle is? I can have you fired just like that." And Tammy, the hostess, tried telling her there were no seats. But my niece wanted nothing to do with that. She said, "My uncle practically owns this place. Mr. H. You know who that is, right?" Tammy nodded her head. "Yeah, I know who he is. I see him in here all the time." My niece said, "Well then, you know I could have your job just like that. All I have to do is make one phone call and you're gone, Missy." I was livid. My niece was using my name to get a free ride, something I frown on. I even looked down on nepotism. I got up and walked up behind her as she continued her rant of how she deserves to be seated. Tammy smiled when I spoke up. "Hello, Lissa. Nice to see you here." "Oh, hi, Uncle," she said sweetly. "I was just explaining how I know you and that you're my uncle." You're using my name to get a free meal, and I do not appreciate it. These people, unlike you, work for a living, and I know your father is going to be very disappointed when I call him and tell him how you were treating these people. "But Uncle, she was being really snotty to me." "Lissa, don't you dare lie to me. Tammy was being nothing but sweet and pleasant, so don't you even dare try it." Lissa squealed out, "But Uncle." "But nothing. I don't want you trying to be a mooch, and I don't approve it, and your father sure wouldn't." I apologized to her friends and told them they would have to vacate the restaurant now. "Tammy, you see Lissa in here, you have the right to throw her out, and I will contact the managers of the other 2 restaurants not to seat you if they hear you drop my name or give any free meals. Lissa, I am so disappointed in your behavior right now. Just go." Lissa stomped off with her friends, screaming she was going to tell her daddy. "No, you won't, because your dad will side with me. I know he doesn't promote this type of attitude, and I know he didn't raise you this way. Now go." It's been several years since then. She still doesn't talk to me. Her dad apologized for her behavior. Why? I don't know. It's not his fault. He's a good man and tells me he didn't raise her to be like that. But it's okay. He made her get a job, working for me. Yes, I made her work as a dishwasher and said my name better not drift out of her mouth to gain favoritism with others. I still think she's ticked off, but oh well. I still have the respect of my employees. I moved out. Entitled Parents attempted to play victim. In previous posts, I mentioned I moved out when I turned 18. The day after my birthday, my boyfriend came over and helped me pack up my stuff. Of course, this went smoothly, and I stayed with him until we could find a permanent place of our own. His parents welcomed me into their house, but I didn't want to burden them. We started up our search for a home as soon as we could get to it. This is when weird things started to happen. I got a few calls the next week. They were all from family members, and they were all saying that they were planning to disown me if I didn't make up for my mistakes. This was weird, as I've never met most of them in my entire life. However, when my aunt called, everything came to a light. We've got Susan, entitled Mom, Kevin, entitled Dad, Laura, nice aunt, Paul, nice uncle, Andrew, my cousin, Red, me, and Schroeder, boyfriend of mine. Laura: "Did your relatives call you?" Me: "Yes, they did. What did I do?" "Oh, you did nothing. Your mother told everyone in the family group chat about how you disrespected them and attempted to hurt them if they didn't let you run away." Me: "Nice to know." After that tiny conversation, I decided to block out my relatives. The only people I didn't block were my aunt, uncle, and cousin. The 3 of them were the only real family I had ever had before I met Schroeder. Thank goodness for me, they didn't believe my parents' sob story of how I was threatening them. Blocking out my relatives seemed to make it worse. They had my email and spammed me every day, demanding I move back in with my parents and make it up to them. Of course, I sent them, and I mean every single one of them, the true story of why I left. They didn't believe the story since they said I was a compulsive liar, so I left it alone. 2 months after moving in with my boyfriend, my grandaunt came by and practically tried to take me back to my family. She wasn't even able to make it out the door, as Schroeder might not be home, but his 3rd elder sister was. She stopped my grandaunt and kicked her out of the door. Schroeder's sister literally lifted up her leg and pushed my grandaunt out by her back. Grandaunt: "This is harassment. I'm going to sue." Schroeder's sister: "Go ahead. Then you can explain how you tried trespassing on our property." That was the end of it for grandaunt. She never came by, and according to my aunt, she never sued either. That was just the beginning of things. The next visit came with my aunt. This aunt was from my father's side and was always protecting my family because he is her little brother. She told me I should go back and apologize for hurting my parents like that. I explained to her that I have no idea what she was talking about. She got in my face and yelled that I should be in prison. Needless to say, since we were having the conversation at the door, I slammed it in her face. Not long after, my nice aunt called me again. "Red, you better be careful. You know your parents are planning something with the others." Me. "Will do. Thanks for the heads up, Aunt Laura." Turns out their big plan was to expose me for the jerk I am. It actually worked for a while because I wasn't the most well-known person. I was really thinking of moving back in to get them to stop. They tried to lie their way and say how bad of a son I was and how I was always drinking. All of my relatives showed it to their friends through their personal chat in their phones. Eventually, one of their friends showed it to Schroeder's mother, who immediately debunked the entire lie as she uploaded the video Schroeder took the day he helped me move. The video eventually got sent back until it reached my relatives. The contents of the video were simple. He was recording and then he pointed the camera at my parents' house. The door opened to reveal I came out with my suitcase, my parents doing absolutely nothing. My relatives messaged me saying how sorry they were, but I got them on block. I don't want to deal with them anymore. Coworker feels entitled to my room. This happened a few years ago at my old job. I worked closely with a woman my age to provide tech support in our office and staff trainings. The woman, who I'll call Jessie, was nice enough at first, and we had a lot in common. Unfortunately, she was also very self-centered and prone to dramatic episodes. She dated a coworker in our office in a tumultuous on-again, off-again relationship. In my first month with the company, they broke up the same morning we were to hold a training, and Jessie faked an illness to get his attention, leaving me to give the training alone. There were other episodes involving the two of them and her dating other guys at work that led me to avoid her in social situations. My avoiding her really upset her and led her to make passive-aggressive social media posts. She also started to unfairly pass on crappy work assignments to me instead of splitting them between us. I never bid on the drama, did my work, and kept my head down. Anyhow, we both end up attending a conference together out of state. As the trip started, I tried to be as cordial as possible as I was very excited for the trip and wanted to have fun. We get to the resort where the conference is being held and check into our condo. The condo is 2 bedrooms, 3 baths with a full kitchen and living room. As we walk in, Jessie immediately runs into a nice-looking bedroom on the left and claims it as her own, jumping on the bed. I walk into the bedroom on the right and lay down. After 20 minutes of chilling in our separate rooms, Jessie walks into my room talking about how nice the condo is, then makes a face. She says, "Oh, you have the master bedroom." I shrug. I thought they looked the same. I go peek into her room, and sure enough, I do have the master bedroom. Despite this distinction, there isn't much of a difference between the rooms. Both have full baths with separate showers and garden tubs. Both have vaulted ceilings. The big difference was my ceiling was vaulted a little more by 2 to 3 feet, and the room was a few feet bigger. As we attend the evening conference activities, Jessie is huffy and sulking about her room. She won't admit she's upset about my having the master room, so she starts complaining about feeling claustrophobic. Yes, that's what she thinks the condition is called, because the ceiling isn't high enough. Mind you, her ceiling is vaulted in the condo, and she has standard height, flat ceilings at home. If she truly felt claustrophobic, I don't know how she can be living in her own house. We get back to the condo for the evening with her still complaining about her claustrophobic room. I can see she's hoping to wear me down into switching rooms with her. Instead, I cheerily say, "Well, have a good night," and head into my master bedroom. I wake up the next morning and see her sprawled out on the couch in the living room. She really committed herself to her performance over the bad bedroom and glares at me. "I couldn't sleep in that claustrophobic room." For the rest of the trip, she avoided me, which was fine by me. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Bart Wright, Atomi Fan, and the Charizard Flame. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many rees as you can in the comments below, and please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.